Well, there's a very big prominent figure that used to work for PlayStation who is now saying that he believes South Korea is actually going to be the new country that's going to explode in popularity due to indie hits. Now, he said that Japan, they definitely blew up in popularity maybe about 5 years ago, specifically with their indie scene, but it is going to apparently be South Korea very soon. Now, this is Shuhei Yoshida, and he was recently at a South Korean conference. Now, this is coming from Steam, actually. I didn't know Steam had pages on different game conferences around the world. That's actually kind of cool. So this is the Busan Indie Connect Festival, or BIC. Yeah, essentially, this is like a huge conference that was in the city of Busan in South Korea just last month. It's held every year. It was actually the 10-year anniversary, and it's basically a huge networking opportunity. A bunch of South Korea devs go there, and they show off their stuff, hoping that they can connect with a lot of publishers. And the thing in question here is that Shuhei Yoshida, he's saying that right now there is a surprising lack of foreign publishers, so publishers outside of South Korea that have gone to this conference. So I got this from this Automaton article. I will link it in the description, but essentially he talks about how South Korea has really blown up recently with the popularity, specifically in some of their huge breakout hits. Lies of P and Stellar Blade are two of the big ones. And it says, you would think that the country of South Korea is attracting more foreign publishers to invest in new indie games because of these huge breakout hits. But this does not seem to be the case. In fact, he actually says in this interview that actually the only publisher that was not from South Korea that was there is Devolver Digital. Looks like they've made the Serious Sam games and Hotline Miami. So huge shout out to them. But yeah, overall, pretty much a no-show from the rest of the world. So this was all referencing this article right here by 4gamer.net. This is all translated to, and I guess it is worth mentioning, not sure why I didn't mention it at the start, but Shohei is from Japan, but he apparently has a reputation of, while he was at PlayStation, reaching out to foreign indie devs. So in a way, this whole thing kind of hits home, that South Korea, they are right now not really being recognized for the huge talent that they have. So yeah, this was realized by him when he was at this big festival. He says that this is not just any festival, it's kind of the top place to be if you are a Korean developer. So if you are any kind of game publisher that is interested in that specific country's devs, you're gonna go to it. So unfortunately, this could be kind of telling on the attitude that publishers around the world have, or really, I guess, the lack of, just the overall lack of interest right now in South Korea, but it may change very soon. He said it is a country where the big five companies are strong. I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but young people are starting to go independent. They may be moving faster than Japan. So yeah, Japan, they basically broke out with their indie scene, he says, about 5 years ago, but South Korea, they could be breaking out even faster. So when he said the big five, by the way, I was curious about this. I did look it up, and I'm kind of getting like mixed results on what these big five companies are that make up the South Korean gaming scene. I'm quite sure by far the absolute biggest one is Krafton. They're a huge publishing company. They own the rights to like PUBG and other huge games. And then there is NC Soft. They are just a developer, I believe. But other than that, I'm not quite sure who these big five are. But I think there will be much more than just the big five very soon, at least for the indie devs. Shuhei, like I said, from PlayStation, he definitely thinks so. Now this is translated, so keep in mind some of this sounds a little off, but he says it is fine because when it's quiet you can play a lot, but this does worry me, so that I didn't really think made sense. But then right here he says, my hypothesis is that indie games still do not have much acceptance or general awareness in Korea. Basically, a lot of foreign countries, they're not aware of how big the indie scene really is in South Korea. Now he said Japan's indie gaming scene really took off kind of around the COVID times, and he feels that South Korea is just a little bit short of reaching that point. But it's going to get there very soon. He says people are starting to notice that the number of Korean indie games is increasing and good games are starting to come out, but it has not yet reached a huge point. But he says, I expect it to take off in the next 2 to 3 years. And I would say, if even that, with Lies of P being very recent and companies as absolutely huge as Krafton dominating dominating the publishing scene in South Korea, the developers are going to grow as well, and obviously by the sounds of it, they have already grown and flourished quite a bit. So I agree, I think it is only a matter of time before the South Korean game dev scene really blows up. It could even be in less than 2 to 3 years from now.